Hello, today we are doing lesson 19. This lesson is asking you to use unit squares again, but again, we can figure out a way to do it without the unit squares. So we're just going to do it by drawing rectangles instead. For the video today, we're going to actually work on the problem set together. So go get your lesson 19 problem set ready and pause the video till you're back. Okay, so for the problem set today, we're supposed to be creating rectangles with different numbers of unit squares. If we're talking about the number of unit squares inside a rectangle, that is area. We're talking about how many squares make up the inside of a rectangle. That would be the area of the rectangle, the inside. So let's look at the problem set page. It's telling us to make unit squares of different rectangles. Use unit squares to make different rectangles for a certain number of unit squares. So we're just going to draw them without actually using unit squares. They did one example for us over here. So they're saying, how many rectangles are there that would use 12 unit squares? So it's basically just asking you how many different numbers or combinations of numbers multiply to the number 12. Well, let's look. They said we could do 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4 as the side length, because all of those multiply to 12. Let's take a look on the whiteboard. So if we do a rectangle with a width of 1 and a length of 12, what would the area be? It would be 12. There'd be 12 unit squares inside. The next one it listed was that it would have a width of 2 and a length of 6. So that's kind of what that would look like. And I'm kind of leaving units off, but don't worry, it's okay. Just for now, we can kind of skip the units. If the length is 6 and the width is 2, how many unit squares would be inside of here? Also 12. You can kind of imagine them in your head. Can you kind of visualize that? That's kind of what they're talking about on the inside. 12. And then the last one it says is the width will be 3 and the length would be 4. So this width is going to be a little bit longer. The length is going to be a little shorter. Almost a square, but not quite. How many unit squares would be inside? That's right, 12 again. So you can kind of do it like this if you want. You can actually draw them, or you can just do it like I did on the black rectangle up here and just write 12 inside if you do want to draw them, but you don't have to draw them. So that is the example one they did for us. Let's do the first new one together. For the next problem, it's saying that we're going to use 13 unit squares. How many rectangles can we make with 13 unit squares? So we basically want to figure out what numbers multiply to 13. Well, let's see. If we count by twos, do we hit 13? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Oh, no, I skipped 13. All right, I guess 2 times nothing is 13. Let's see if I count by threes if I hit 13. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Oh, I skipped 13 there too. Now, my friends who are almost done with reflex or are done with reflex, you might already know the answer to this one. But let's see, let's see if the 4s hit 13. 4, 8, 12, 16. Oh no, so none of these numbers multiply to 13. There's actually only one rectangle that will have 13 unit squares. What times what is 13? Pause the video and answer out loud. If you said 1 times 13, Give yourself a pat in the back. You are correct. The only numbers that multiply to 13 are 1 and 13. So there would be 13 unit squares inside. It would just be like little ones like that. You don't have to also write 13 and 1. It's the same thing. So just write 1 and 13. So are we actually filling out the entire chart for this one, for 13? No. All you're writing for this one is that you made one rectangle and the width is 1 and the length is 13. This one, you're only filling out one part of this chart. What about the next one, 14? Can you think of some more numbers that will multiply to 14? I can. Why don't you pause the video and try to say them out loud? What other numbers will multiply to 14? All right, if we count by 2s, will that hit 14? It certainly will. So we can do a 2 by what, everybody? 7. 2 times 7, 14. So I'd have 14 unit squares. And then, of course, I can't forget 1 times 14. Are there any other numbers that multiply to 14? Let's see, 3 times anything? No. 4 times anything? No. No, I think there's only 2 rectangles for 14. So on your paper, for the 14 one, you want to just write down that I made 2 rectangles and write down the widths and lengths for each one. So you could say 1 and 14, 2 and 7. That's what you're doing for this whole front page. You're writing down all of the rectangles, how many you can make for each number of unit squares. Now on the back, it's asking you to make a line plot with this data. So we started with 12 unit squares. You'd go up 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and the ends with 18. Each X represents one rectangle you could make. So in the example on the front, how many different rectangles can you make with 12 unit squares? 3. So for 12, you would put 1, 2, 3 X's, because we could make 3 rectangles. But for 13, you know we can only make 1. So you can only put 1 X for 13. And that's how you're going to fill out that line plot. And there's just a few questions for you to answer down below about the line plot itself. That's basically what you're doing for the problem set today. You're figuring out all the different rectangles you could make for different areas, different numbers of unit squares. And you're writing the side lengths of those rectangles. If you know your multiplication facts, it makes it a lot easier. But you can still use skip counting to help you find them if you're not sure about the facts. If you need help with your lesson 19 problem set, log on to math support at 1:15, and otherwise we will see you later. Have a great day.